Hi, this is Siofra's Magic Alcove, and I am Siofra Bradigan. Today I'd like to talk about some cleansings that you can do with water and salt. The first part, the bath. You'll read a lot about taking a ritual bath before you do a major ritual, but you don't have to wait until you're about ready to do some kind of a magical event or exercise to take a ritual bath or a cleansing bath. Anytime I take a bath, I turn it into something to help with my energy. So I always add some Epsom salt for the salt element, and then I have a aquamarine stone that I use, and I do the invoking pentagram of water with the aquamarine stone, and then put that into the bath to charge it up with the element of water. And then if I'm in the mood or feeling particularly needy, I will light a candle and turn out the light and use some essential oil in my bath that will help with whatever I need. The last one I did with essential oil, I used some lavender oil for that. So it depends on if you're trying to tune into specific types of energy or not, or if you're just trying to cleanse yourself and cleanse your energy as well as your body at the same time. So once I'm finished with my bath, then I do the banishing water pentagram as I remove the stone and pull the plug and visualize all of the negative energy or unnecessary energy that I put into the water, leaving the bathtub, going down the drain, and going back to the earth. So it's a nice and simple thing you can do. You can do it with a shower as well. With a shower, you just visualize as the water is washing over you. It takes any impurities or negative energy or unuseful energy out of your aura and washes it down the drain, and it leaves you completely. So that's one way of using water for cleansing. In an emergency, if you think that you have been influenced or picked up some kind of a spirit or entity, you can use the bathtub again, or any kind of running water natural source like a river or the ocean. And what you do for the bathtub is you put like a piece of wood across the top of the tub, because you only want your feet and your hands in the water. So you put your feet and your hands in the running water, and the water will pull anything that's not you immediately out of your body and pull it down the drain. I had to do that as emergency first aid once when I picked up an object that had some negative energy in it. Didn't realize till I picked it up, and we were out in a park outside, and all of a sudden I've got this black gooey stuff climbing up my arm. So I jumped in the local fountain, and poof, it was gone. So I know it works from personal experience, and I learned about this from some individual many years ago, and just keep it in the back of your head in case you ever need it. So for a specific and practice, I'm going to talk about using the saltwater cup ritual that's in Starhawk's book, The Spiral Dance. And I found this is a useful ritual. I, in the beginning, did it on an almost daily basis because I had a lot of emotions that weren't helping me, that I needed to process, things I needed to change and transform. These things take time. They don't happen immediately or overnight, although you can feel an immediate effect when you do them. Usually when we're first starting out, there's a lot of stuff that's left in us from childhood trauma, relationship breakups, all sorts of things, anger, confusion, whatever it happens to be. And this is a method for transforming that energy and taking personal responsibility for how you feel by naming them and getting practice naming them. Because generally speaking, if we come from that kind of a background, one of the things that we have trouble with is naming the feelings that we're having. So this is good practice for that. And when you do it yourself, I recommend that you name them out loud. So, the first thing you do is charge up a cup of water. This is the beginning of a process of making something sacred or magical. Anytime you're doing a ritual or an exercise with magical intent, it's a good idea to charge up the item and to treat it as something special. Things are sacred by virtue of how we interact with them and how we treat them. So if we treat them as ordinary, everyday objects all the time, then it's harder to imagine them as being special when we need them to be, although some people can do that as well. So when you're charging up any item, there's a lot of different types of energy that you can use. In the beginning, a lot of people use their own personal power to do it, which can work, but in order to really advance farther along, you need to start becoming acquainted with other types of energy that are out there and use energy not from your own source, but from a more universal source that is easily accessed and readily available and doesn't leave you feeling drained and depleted when you're done. So charging up the water, I often use light energy to do a lot of my charging. You can use earth energy, universal life force, light energy, the element itself, energy, specifically planetary energy if you're doing something special with the water, like lunar or Venusian energy. But for the purposes of the demonstration, we'll just say we're using universal life force energy like we did in the tree meditation. So this is a continuation of that visualization. So what you do is you close your eyes and you imagine that there's all this light all around you. It's just in the air and the molecules in between the molecules of air. It's all around. It's in the furniture. It sort of is a ever-present kind of energy source. So you imagine that you can collect that light energy. So you imagine the energy is coming out of the air and into your hand, and allow yourself to try and see it glowing, and then you put that energy into the water and think about the fact that you are energizing this water. This is how other religions make their holy water. This is the same process. They just have different words that they use. And so you visualize that energy going into the water and filling up the cup. And think about water and how important it is. We're made mostly of water. Rain and lakes and rivers are all sources of water that nourish the earth and nourish us. Water is cleansing and purifying. Water takes whatever shape you give it, so it's malleable. It will change into any shape you put it in. So it doesn't have harsh or sharp edges or anything like that. So it's a soft kind of element. And so as you charge it up, you're just making this water now more focused in your mind and special. So this is now a charged up cup of water. And a lot of times when I'm charging things up, I like to blow on them with my breath as a way to continue that visualization. So I just go and let that energy go down into the water. So charge up your water. And then I have a little container of salt. And do the same thing with the salt as far as charging up the salt goes and making it special salt. If you have a certain kind of salt that you're most attracted to, a lot of people nowadays get all these different types of salt. For me, table salt works just fine, but if you need to have pink Himalayan salt or some other salt that's out there that seems better, feel free to go ahead and use it. It doesn't matter to me. It's what works for you. So you do the same thing with the salt, and salt is a mineral, and it actually comes from the earth. There are salt mines. They mine it from the ground. It's naturally occurring as an element. And so it represents the element of earth. So we're going to charge that up the same way we charged up the water, visualizing that universal light force energy, filling up our hand, filling it up with light, and then putting it into the salt, charging it up. Imagine that it's vibrating with all the energy that is going into it. And the more you practice this, the easier it is, and the more powerful your visualization will become. Because it's like everything else. Then as you charge it up, think of this as like the bones of the earth. So you have your charged salt and your charged water. And then we're going to put a little bit of the charged salt into the charged water. And this is a standard thing to do to cleanse yourself before a ritual with a group of people. Stir a little bit of that salt in there so it's dissolved somewhat. I'm just using my finger for this. Sometimes people want to use a magical tool for that. And so now this is combined, the salt, the water of the rains and lakes with the salt of the earth, and it becomes representative of the ocean. And the ocean is that place that all life came out of, and the place we will all eventually return to when we return. So, the way this exercise goes, you're going to look inside yourself and see what it is about yourself, either that is bothering you or annoying you, something you don't care for about yourself, some kind of emotion or feeling that's disrupting your life, whether it's grief and loss, or anger and rage, or illness and exhaustion. There's no end to what it might be. That's why this is a very personal experience for people. But you look inside yourself and you identify one thing that you want to try and transform. And the notion of this exercise is, as you put that, whatever it is, into the cup and let it leave your body, you don't want to just dump it out and get rid of it, because this is all your own personal energy. So it's part of your personal power. It's just not working with you at the moment. It's working against you. So what you want to do is change it, transform it into something that will work for you in the direction you want to go. So not only is this taking personal responsibility for where you're at and how you feel and what's happening to you, but it's also giving you an opportunity to choose what you want to become, because that's what this is about. It's about what you want to be, and this is one of the tools you can use to get there. This helps to restructure the subconscious, and takes away some of those inner voices that are always telling you something's wrong with you, or something's not right with the world, or whatever it might be. So we visualize that leaving and going into the cup, and then after it's in the cup, we transform it. And I do that for myself with a series of visualizations, because it's not that simple to go from something icky and uncomfortable to something that's bright and energetic that you can then symbolically take a step back. So that's the basic outline of this exercise. And I personally always like to know what's coming, so I can decide whether I feel comfortable with it or not. So I always try to make sure I let other people know what's coming, so they can decide for themselves whether this is going to work for them or not. So let's do the exercise. So you have your charged salt and your charged water, and you put it together in your cup. And you're holding your cup in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And this is when you're going to close your eyes, and you're going to look inside of yourself to see what it is that might be holding you back, or what it is you would like to let go of. So take a minute and look inside of your mind, your heart, your spirit. And identify something, one thing, that you would like to start working on transforming. And there's power in naming it out loud. So if you are by yourself and you feel comfortable with it, give it a name and say it out loud, what it is you're trying to let go of. And then start to visualize it leaving your body through your heart center and entering into the cup. See it as a stream of dark energy. And in your mind, see the water in the cup becoming dark and murky as the water takes on the energy. So at some point you will feel somewhat lighter inside as the energy has left your body and gone into the cup. And now I'll lead you through the visualization that I do in order to change the energy in the cup. So my cup is filled with this dark energy that I put in it. And I imagine that I'm sitting in a cave. The darkest dark I've known. If you've ever been in a cave, you know what I mean. There's no light at all. It's so completely pitch black. You can't see a nose or a finger. There's nothing. Just blackness. And as I sit here in this cave that's in my cup, I start to notice that there is an area in this cave that's not quite as dark. It's still dark, but it's not as pitch black as the rest of the cave. And I realize that there is an exit out of this particular darkness. So I go towards the exit, and I come out into a field, an open field, at night with a clear sky. All the stars are sparkling in the sky, and I see their light in my cup, breaking up the darkness with the light that comes from so far away and yet is so bright. And as the energy in my cup starts to get all those sparkling stars in it, and I see the full moon rising in my cup, spreading its silver light throughout the entire cup and all of the water that's in it. There's no room for shadows. So the whole cup is now bright silver light. See the sun rise into the cup, not just with its light, but with its heat, its radiance, radiating outward. Getting rid of any darkness that might have been left. So I'm holding a cup of solar energy and fire and light. transformed all that energy into this. So now that you have that energy out of you and transformed in your cup, you can rename it. So name the energy in the cup something you need, something you want. Whether it's patience, or health, or serenity, or joy, or peace, or some other word that fits for you. Decide what it is you want to have more of, and then you name it. And then after you name it, take a single sip back. Claiming your own power. You can do this exercise, like I said, daily, if you want, whenever you feel you need it. In the beginning, it's good to do a lot of these things on a regular basis because you're setting up a resonance in your own mind and spirit, and you're starting to change your tone, the tone that you put out to the universe, and you're taking control of who you want to be, what kind of a person you want to be. So I hope you've enjoyed this exercise, and we will talk about others that you can do with different elements at another time. So this is Siofra Bradigan and Siofra's Magic Alcove. Blessed be.